What's up? I'm Maxter. I'm back today looking at a new version of Mekanism that is running, believe it or not, on Minecraft 1.16. I'm here with aidancbrady, creator of Mekanism.
Hello.
And CyanideX.
Hello.
Who has led the art direction for the mod as of lately. And I think that's the first thing I just want to go over because that's pretty clearly changed a lot.
Yeah, we've made quite a few changes since the last version. The main thing I wanted to do with this version was to bring it a little bit closer to vanilla Minecraft and be 16x resolution. So I've worked a lot on the previous models to kind of bring them down from the higher res. I've also reworked the models, the shapes to kind of be more in line with the base pixels that are the base texture. And we're kind of moving forward, going to kind of keep that vision in mind, is just make sure that it fits with vanilla Minecraft as best as possible.
Mm-hmm. And you also make the Unity texture pack, which is kind of an attempt at unifying a lot of mods and the vanilla look and changing it. But I guess Mekanism is meant to fit into either that or vanilla, right?
Right. Mekanism kind of has its own original grungy style, I guess you could say. They're not meant to look super clean. It has a more dark vibe to it.
Okay, nice. And that fits too because you'll see that I am running right now a dark resource pack made by CyanideX that kind of fits in with Mekanism. And I'm also running Unity. So this is not what vanilla looks like, but if you choose to install Unity and have Mekanism, this is what it will look like. And yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a much more cohesive look. Not everything has changed. We're just going to be going over a few of the highlights and spotlights yet. This version is brand new on 1.16. So it's exciting. And I guess just before we begin, Aidan, can you give us a real quick rundown of Mekanism's history as a mod?
Yeah. Mekanism has a long history. Started off when I was literally just first learning to program back in around like 2011, and I realized that Minecraft was written in Java, which was the language I was learning. So I thought it would be a fun way to kind of apply what I was learning to something that I could really, see and touch. And this first thing that it started off with was something called obsidian ingots, which basically literally just added in obsidian tools to the game, like pretty much the most bare bones mod you can make. But it was like such a fun project, I just kept adding on to it. And eventually I met up with this guy named Calclavia, who you might remember his name from the Volts Universal Electricity days. I worked with him to kind of make Mekanism the premier machinery mod for Universal Electricity until that project kind of got disassembled. And ever since then, I've kind of just been continuing to add stuff on. And now, geez, it's just freaking massive.
Yeah, I mean, multi-blocks, all of these models talk about quite a visual mod. And I think back in the Volts days, for anyone watching who wasn't playing modern Minecraft back then, Volts was, I guess, the first attempt at making a technology, mod pack experience for Minecraft that was very much focused on presentation. Like you could make missiles, and there were all these complex multi-blocks and fitting things. Like back in the olden days of classic, like what am I thinking? Tekkit, industrial craft. You could do a lot of things you can do now, but I feel like they didn't look quite as sophisticated.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, visuals were never really a huge priority of mine with Mekanism, partially because I'm definitely not artistically gifted. But my better half here, Cyanide, has made Mekanism this freaking just beautiful masterpiece of a mod. I mean, like everything that you see has been touched and tweaked by him. And especially in version 10, this is kind of a new cool thing that we've helped make even better. You'll notice that on all of these kind of complex models, the voxel shapes are perfectly aligned to the models. And this is something that my co-developer, Pup, has been working super hard on. He's made it so that literally every single one of these tiny little shapes is perfectly aligned with where your mouse hits the model. It's a nice little touch that I think just kind of makes Mekanism even a more, kind of special mod.
Yeah, there's a lot of attention to detail. And even if you look at like a single block model, like let's say this QIO drive array, which is kind of like applied energistics. It's a way of storing a lot of items with, electricity and industrial stuff. You can look and see, we put drives into this, and you can actually see them rendered in the game. There's like drives inside of here. If I take one out, which I guess is safe to do, this is like a hot swappable drive. we have now one fewer drive in there. So I think that's like details like that really add up to a nice experience.
And believe me, it's not without a bunch of nitpicky effort.
Yeah,
but,
I feel like Minecraft does not come that way.
Yeah, I know, but it's worth the effort because you end up with like a much more interesting and just more cohesive experience with the game.
Yeah, and I'm just noticing now, depending on where you position them, that actually changes where they fill up. So
yeah,
yeah, there's a lot of nice detail here. I guess we'll just begin with, I think one of the coolest things about Mekanism is the personal customization it gives you as a player with the armor and the new mecha tool. So we'll take a look at that. So I think I can pick it up from this armor stand. I'll just confiscate this armor stand, strip it, and take my mech suit. And the mech suit, I think, if you craft it initially, doesn't really offer that much on its own, right?
So the real thing that it offers from the get-go is just kind of like energy provided protection.
Mm-hmm.
You might notice this just from like the kinds of things like to add to Mekanism, but I was a huge fan of Industrial Craft back in the day, and I loved how they had like this cool quantum suit you could throw on, and it would like use energy to protect you. So, I mean, I figured it would be cool to add something kind of similar to this to Mekanism, but align it a bit more with a modular system, like you might have been familiar with in like Machine Muse's modular power suits back in the day. So, what the Mega Suit is kind of like a Mekanism touch on a fusion of both of those mods. With a few extra things that I think make them kind of cool. But yeah, like we mentioned, you don't really get much from the get-go once you craft it. It's hard to make, but I mean, what you'll get to start is just something that will protect you, and you can recharge it to regain that protection.
Yeah, so it, like you said, runs off energy, and that kind of fits in with a lot of the other mods themes. Like you have plenty of other tools and things that run off energy instead of the classic durability that you might be used to if you played vanilla. So let's install some fun stuff. I'll get a jetpack unit, radiation shielding unit. Just gotta be safe,
just in case.
Yeah,
right?
You never know. And a magnetic attraction. That sounds interesting. So I'm going to go over to this modification station. And is this one of the newer models?
This is something cool. It's the first time I've tried to make a model that wasn't perfectly horizontally aligned. So when you place it down, it actually extends a block also to the right here. But yeah, it's a new model that Cyanide worked extra hard on, and it's basically just the way that you can interact and tweak, add modules to your mecha tool and your mecha suit.
All right, so let's begin. I guess I'll add a magnetic attraction unit, and the interface is pretty simple. I just have the unit I'm going to have on the left, and then I put in something like, let's say, for
the boots
for the unit.
The attraction unit.
So there'll be a quick process thing. It'll add them, and we can stack multiple units to get like more power essentially for each upgrade.
That's correct.
Okay, nice. So I'm going to put on these boots, and I'm not noticing anything right now, but what do these do? Hope everyone watching at home is seeing that. It's a pretty cool particle effect you see with the boots. I'm guessing it gets more powerful the more you add. But
it does, and in fact, if you open up the module tweaker, you'll be able to configure the range depending on how many you have installed.
Nice.
And by module tweaker, that is a hotkey. So by default, it's set to /, okay. But you can tap that, and it will show you the different mecha suit enabled module items that you have. So you can like click on the armor item you want to tweak, and then click on the module, and you'll be able to change the range. For example, with the boots.
Nice. So I'm going to set to 3.0. We're going to make things crazy. If I throw, I guess I can just retrieve the rest of my armor with this. Like normally.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I throw it, I kind of just attract it back to myself. But you can see how this would be super useful if you were mining in a PvP situation, whatever kind of situation you want to be in. You could just get those extra little superpowers that you don't get in vanilla or mods. Let's see what else we've got. Let's do the jetpack upgrade. I feel like that's a good natural evolution. I'm guessing that goes on the chest unit.
That's right.
Okay. Jetpack. So you might have been familiar with the jetpack and Mekanism before. Now you can integrate it right into the mecha suit. So I'm going to put this on. Actually, I might need
And
to
don't
do
worry.
the jetpack first.
The classic Mechanism jetpack is still here.
Yeah.
In fact, it's needed to make this module for the suit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're gonna have to fill it up with hydrogen. Looks like it's good now.
Yep. So it's filled with hydrogen from our completely naturally sourced hydrogen tank. I'm gonna put it on, and now I can fly. And I like this
There you go.
because it's not like you see a lot of mods where the only form of flight you can do is like the creative form. This is a literal survival jetpack, and it's working.
Yes.
It's pretty nice. There is also a gravitational module, though, right? That basically lets you do the creative flight if you want to.
Yeah, and believe me, you're not going to be able to have that unless you're at very, very late game Mechanism. One common complaint that people have is, well, Mechanism produces an insane amount of energy, but I mean, what the hell am I going to do with all of this energy? Like, I don't really need 50 terajoules of energy. So anyway, Mechanism version 10, one of the big things I wanted to do was actually provide a purpose for all of that energy.
Yeah,
and we'll get to that later on in the video.
There's definitely some kind of end game content, like you said, we'll go into that I think kind of significantly expands the scope of the mod. And also, I feel like expands the scope of what people can do, period, right now in 1.16, because like, if people aren't familiar, as of when we're recording this, there's not that many mods out for 1.16. I think Forge is barely on 1.16.
Yeah, it was a huge pain to update. I barely did any updating at all. It was mostly my codev. And for those familiar with updating mods, the mappings were not updated at all. So we were literally working with like gibberish variable names to try to get this thing updated. A lot of trial and error, but we somehow pulled it off.
Yeah. People who, longtime fans of Mechanism might be familiar with the paxil. If you're not, it's one of my favorite things in the mod, to be honest. It's very simple, but it just combines a lot of vanilla tools into one. It's an axe, a shovel, and a pickaxe. And as part of that focus, pushing the envelope, being on 1.16, you've already made a netherite paxil. So that new material that's in vanilla, you can make a paxil from it, which is pretty nice. As you can see, it works, and it's actually making some. Oh no, that's coming from my boots. Okay, but yeah, you can also see the nice magnetic attraction in place already. It
makes mining much easier.
Yeah, it's making me feel like a god already, and we're not even in the end game stuff yet, so it's pretty nice. What else? I guess we should go over the canteen because that's one of the other new features, right?
Ah, yes, the canteen, a fun feature.
So we have here a nutritional liquefier that's hooked up to power. We're gonna let's just put in some fish I caught, into it. And it looks like those fish are getting grinded up into some kind of nutritional paste. We've got 50 millibars, 100, it's filling up. So you can just put in any organic stuff in here.
Yep, basically anything that is remotely edible, this will process. And I mean, I'm sure you heard about, we could put in the chicken McNuggets. Like, this is kind of basically just doing that, mushing it all together. But it makes it safe at the same time. So you can then put this into a canteen, and you can take it on the go, and no longer do you have to carry stacks of, bread and steak with you. Just fill up your canteen with food, and you can just kind of sip on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Minecraft version of McDonald's. Sometimes you get food on the go. You need those chicken nuggets. You can take this paste with you now. So I think we have a good amount of paste. So do I right-click the canteen on the machine?
So just put it into that little plus icon there.
All right,
the
okay.
energy
it looks like it's taken that paste, so it can store a lot more, but for now, that's what we'll do. So I have a canteen, and I am getting a little peckish, actually, so I guess I can just drink from it, and I get nutrition.
Yeah, there you go.
And is this the kind of thing where I can do this multiple times, depending on how much I store in it?
It is, so you can see how much you have stored. I'm pretty sure the way I have it set up is each half bar of food is 50 millibuckets of nutritional paste, so you can carry a lot with you.
Nice.
If my math is right, well, I don't even want to do the math right now, but it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot. Don't worry.
Optimize your inventory space, go on, week-long or several weeks-long expeditions. I always feel like there's vanilla inventory space and what you can carry. It's always a limiting factor, so nice to have that. What else should we look at next? This is kind of a classic in Mechanism. Why don't we start it? The digital miner. It's not new in V10, but It does have some nice graphics. I like this little interface here.
Yeah, this is new. This is new as of yesterday, actually.
Oh wow, yeah. So as you can, again, we're on the bleeding edge here. So if everything you see here, the fact that it's working is kind of a miracle.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
But yeah, that's the digital miner. It seems to be working as normal. We've already got some diamond ore. It's doing its job. Of course, that's connected to power. I feel like Mekanism always strikes a nice balance, especially in the later versions of, being balanced, but also giving you all these fun things to play around with.
Yeah, yeah. What I like to tell people is Mekanism kind of like, it almost like alleviates you of the tediousness of mining and crafting. I think I wrote that in the forum post.
Yeah, it makes Minecraft less miney and crafty, but it's better for it.
Yeah, it kind of lets you focus on, making more, cool, massive structures and getting into like bleeding edge science. That's a lot of it is grounded in actual real research. A lot of people don't know this, but Mekanism's fusion reactor, the math behind that and the logic, it's based on internal confinement fusion. And it was actually all written out, like all the math and everything, from a student who was getting his PhD in Oxford.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's very realistic. We try to keep it that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's even the grounding and chemistry, and like you said, more bleeding edge research is really cool to see. And I also just feel like it's a good tech mod for people who don't like tech mods. I don't know, like I'm not always someone who's into like making a bunch of things for the sake of things, but Mekanism gives me a really clear like incentive to do that, because look, I can like get a digital miner, I can give myself superpowers. There's a lot of very like practical applications of that. And I can put a balloon in a robot and then pop it.
That's very important.
Yeah, you don't get that with industrial craft.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't even know if that's on 116 yet. I doubt it. Anyways, you mentioned the fusion reactor. I feel like that's a good segue. We should go into this giant structure we have here. What is this?
Yes. So this is not the fusion reactor, it is the fission reactor. And I know this has been done 1,000 times by different mods, but I actually, before I wanted to do computer science, I wanted to be a nuclear engineer. So I just felt like I had to put a Mekanism touch on fission too. So the fission reactor, it is kind of a blend of my favorite elements from other, kind of like nuclear approaching mods. The structure is just kind of what you're used to in Mekanism. You got a big box. You can use whatever kind of glass you want. Actually, I take that back. We have a new special kind of glass for reactors. It's called reactor glass, and that's what we have on here. But basically, inside of the reactor, you can't really see it right now because of the water, but there's a bunch of these fission fuel assemblies, and on top of those, you just got to put yourself down a control rod assembly, and fill this guy up with water and a bunch of fissile fuel. And if you open up the interface, you can see it's pretty nicely laid out. You have your water in the far left tank, your fuel tank contains your fissile fuel, and then on the right side, you have your heated coolant, which is basically just the water converted to steam, and then you have your waste tank, which contains nuclear waste, which is naturally created through operation.
And this is a massive structure. Obviously, Mekanism is based heavily off multi-blocks, meaning it's up to you how big you want to make everything. So it's very dynamic. Yeah, because of that size disparity, I think our tanks are already at maximum capacity.
Yeah. So these right here, these are the radioactive waste barrels. So one thing that all of these fission reactors you make in Mekanism will do is make waste. And you have to deal with that waste somehow, because if it pools out, you'll actually radiate your world and basically make it inhabitable for at least a couple weeks while the radiation dies down. So the radioactive waste you can pump out into these waste barrels, and very slowly they will kind of diminish the amount of radiation, but you got to keep a lot of them, and you got to keep them stored in here, because if you break one of these barrels while you have radioactive waste inside of it, you're going to have a really, really bad time.
Right, so you want to practice good nuclear safety, as always. Mekanism started kind of off the wall with fusion reactors, but now you're kind of become more grounded with reality, because this kind of fission reactor is sort of like what you might see in the real world.
Yeah, it is. And the one thing that we also did, just to kind of rebalance Mekanism a little bit, is make sure that you have to achieve fission before you can achieve fusion. So no longer can you just, jump straight from a bunch of wind generators to, a massive fission reactor. I mean, a fusion reactor. You have to make one of these guys first, and you have to be able to handle the byproducts that come out of the waste to create the advanced components that are the fusion reactor.
And I'm guessing the fusion reactor is still more of an end game type high energy thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
Yeah, but in this case, one of the downsides of any nuclear energy is if you don't practice safe methods, you could get radiation. So I've taken this hazmat suit off of this armor stand here, and could we just do a quick simulation of what it would be like if we happen to irradiate our world?
Sure. To do that, I will literally break this barrel right here, and
now we have some radiation in our environment. Luckily, I have a hazmat suit. And I also have a Geiger counter.
Yes, you got one already.
Yes. So if I right click, I can see those numbers are pretty high. It's not great. It's lowering because it's dissipating. It started off really high, but if I get closer to the source, obviously it looks like there's more radiation here. So if I did not have this hazmat suit on, what would be happening to me right now?
Well, you might notice to start you getting kind of hungry, and then you might notice kind of losing tiny bits of health here and there, and before long you might start seeing the screen getting a bit red. Ah, yes.
That's happening immediately because we have a massive reactor. Oh, God. Oh, okay, put it back on.
Yeah, and the other thing I should probably notice is there's no way to get rid of that radiation once it's already... Yeah.
So be safe. In this case, I think we can just get rid of it artificially. But yeah, if you were playing for yourself, this would be a bad situation to be in. So yeah, be careful both in Minecraft and in real life with nuclear energy. And hopefully Mekanism is, maybe it will train a whole new generation of nuclear engineers who are inspired by this.
That's my dream.
Yeah, it would be cool to see, and wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. What should we look at next?
So let's look at QIO. I think that QIO is a pretty cool addition.
Sure. So you might be familiar with item storage from a lot of other Minecraft mods. It can apply to logistics, but the way Mekanism does it with QIO is really nice because this really nice interface here. We don't have that many items stored, but it's pretty high tech. I think we have some importers and exporters here, and these are basically wireless ways of importing and exporting items, right?
Yeah, that's right. So the QIO is short for quantum item orchestration, and it's basically just a very fancy name for handling items with ease and making sure that they get to where they need to go. That is what the system is kind of designed to do. So refined storage and applied energistics are fantastic mods. They have complex ways to handle auto crafting and mass item storage. The focus of QIO is strictly item storage. So all of these different components are designed to let you efficiently add and manage lots of different items in a nice little easy way to visualize them, which is the dashboards. And you'll notice if you open up any of these different components, QIO components, that there's a little tab on the top left, which is set frequency. And unlike other mods where there might be cables to connect the different components in your storage frequency, we have wireless frequencies. And the frequencies can be set to any kind of string name, similar to Mekanism's quantum entangler or teleporter. You can make it a public frequency so that other people can access your items, or you can make it private, and then it'll only be linked to your own frequencies. So only you can access them.
Yes.
And yeah, that basically just the gist is you can have a network or multiple networks in your base to kind of store and handle items of different types or maybe different categories. And these different components make it very easy to handle the filtration of them.
Nice. And one of the items we have here is a portable QIO dashboard, because that's one of the things you can make. So you could access your system from anywhere. Well, obviously, once it's linked to the same frequency. And I can actually even control the frequency color, which is a really nice visual way of just seeing the frequency. So I've made it magenta. And as you can see, now all of these components seem to be magenta.
That's right, yeah.
And one of the other things, I guess is an artistic point I'd like to touch on, is just the colors in Mekanism and the lighting, because I feel like it's a very distinctive look. That's why we've chosen to wait until night, to show everything. It just gives a really nice vibe.
Yeah, that took a lot of effort from both me and Cyanide. So I rewrote our model loading engine to be able to handle kind of specific model elements with varying light. So that's how you're able to see a lot of these two components have specific parts of them light up at nighttime. And the other thing too is the colors. We no longer use these kind of super rich, almost like, I don't know, like LED colors. Now Cyanide kind of rewrote the entire color palette to look much nicer. And Cyanide, you actually want to touch on that if you want to.
Well, as usual, I have a lot of demands for my creativity, and Aiden has no problem working 24 hours straight just to implement something. And this color palette is no exception. And now everything can be controlled through a texture itself, and you can change individual pixel colors, and that will control each of the channel colors as well. There are a few other things that are controlled with, what were they again? The GUI tabs, the text.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, a lot of the different components that you'll see on like GUIs and just like normal things on the ground, or like the colors you set frequencies to, all of those have what I like to call color atlases, which are basically just little pictures that are stored in the resource pack that control the colors that are used in different mechanism components. So if you make a resource pack, this makes it very easy for you to kind of control the look and feel of mechanism components, the interfaces, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it fits with the mod's theme of making everything very dynamic, which is very nice. Also, we should touch on world generation, because there are some new ores that people will find in Mechanism version 10.
Indeed. And we're missing one, which is fluorite ore. So let's
put that down.
Guy here.
Yeah, I thought those last two look pretty similar. So these are things you'll find naturally occurring. And what are these used for?
So lead here is at the far right, and this is used for a lot of the components required to make nuclear fission, and things like the hazmat suit have like little bits of lead in them, just to kind of fit the theme of something that is able to withstand massive amounts of radiation. So that'll be used for that. Obviously, uranium, it's processed using normal mechanism or processing. You can use whatever process you like, but the actual creation process to make fissile fuel is very in-depth. If you have just enough items, you can open that up and you can kind of see the process that's involved in creating fissile fuel. There's a lot of different steps involved in the different machines to actually break down the chemicals and come out with something that you can use to create energy in one of these massive machines. But yeah, the root of all that is uranium. And the other thing that kind of accompanies that is this ore on the left here, which is fluorite. And fluorite creates, when you mine it, fluorite crystals, which are involved in making hydrofluoric acid, which is necessary to process the uranium down even deeper to create kind of like the later stages of the fuel. So yeah, all of these are used, pretty much entirely for the new fission mechanics, but they were necessary, in my opinion, to kind of complete the process of being able to make and store these cool types of fuels.
Mm-hmm. And one of the cool things the Mechanism does, and more mods nowadays are doing, is if you have an existing world, they should retrogen, right? If you enable that.
Yeah. That's right. The config is super easy to use. You can just basically define it to retrogen any one of these ores you like. If you want to, use an existing world, and then you just change the ore generation number, and Mechanism will then generate them throughout your world. One thing I would like to throw in here, though, because I just mentioned existing worlds, I cannot really recommend upgrading from Mechanism version 9 to version 10. There's a lot of little things that have changed in both Mechanism and also Minecraft that makes transitioning quite difficult and could mess some things up. It's possible. We will not be here to help with problems there, because unfortunately it's very hard to work with these new Minecraft versions.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I feel like people don't understand a lot of times, is why is it so hard for mods to update across versions? And I think you just explained part of it, but it seems like it's always a challenge with the changes Mojang makes in every version, just because of the way modding and Forge and everything works, right?
Yeah. A big thing too, you get a warning when you upgrade even a 1.15 world that's vanilla. The way that Minecraft stores what are called UUIDs changed, which basically we use very intensively for our different frequencies. Every machine actually stores what's called a security frequency that's linked to your player's UUID. And because the formatting of these things changed, it's hard for us to work with, and it did end up kind of breaking a few things when we were testing transitioning worlds. So yes, be very careful. If you're actually going to attempt making a new world, just make sure that you make it back up first.
Yeah, for sure. And again, we are on bleeding edge 116, so things will get more stable better on, but this is kind of the roughest it's going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Right now, you can't see it, but the people watching can. I have a heads-up display with my mech suit, which is pretty nice. And I'm noticing that the it actually is like a heads-up display because it looks like it has some view bobbing graphics.
It does, yeah. That took a lot of tweaking.
It's nice, yeah. I mean, it's definitely like this is a step above most Minecraft UIs you're used to. And it can show me, it looks like the power state of all my armor, which is nice. Also, really quickly, it looks like we have some new decoration with a transparent plastic.
That's true, yeah. So this was actually a contribution of one of Mechanism's new contributors to me, and he added in a whole suite of these really fancy-looking transparent plastic blocks. I love them. I think they're actually like a super cool look for a lot of different base styles. If you want to make something that looks kind of futuristic and I don't know, like kind of Tron-esque, I think they're an awesome addition for that.
Yeah, especially with the glowing translucency. I feel like Mechanism, like Cyanide was saying, it has such an industrial vibe. So it's nice to be able to expand beyond the vanilla materials, which are all kind of rustic.
This is one other quick addition. So this is something by the exact same contributor. If we give this energy, we actually now can place teleporters horizontally rather than always vertically. So once this powers up and we have a valid frequency link to another teleporter, which I will make right now, we're actually able to set up kind of new styles of teleporters. Let me set this to the test frequency. There we go. So yeah, now if you look at both, they have this cool little purple look you can go through, and
it's very seamless. And it also it sounds weird to say, but it's vanilla feeling, just the way the multi-block works. This might look familiar to people who played Minecraft who've gone into other dimensions, but it's nice that you be very dynamic about it. Something people don't always appreciate that I feel like I should point out, if you look at the textures on these blocks, there's a lot of great use of connected textures, the way everything lines up. It's really clean.
We have Cyanide here going through what looks like
replicating a moment from Portal, it looks like.
Yeah, he definitely is. Yep.
Yeah.
Got to launch off here somehow.
Pretty trippy. Yeah, nice. Without a jetpack, that's kind of a bad situation. I feel like you get stuck in there. But yeah, you can do a bunch of fun stuff like that. What else? We've looked at, Robit is a classic Mechanism thing. People love him, I'd imagine.
Of course, the Robit.
Yeah. I can have him follow me, and he will follow me like the loyal robot he is, but we're going to turn him off for now. Yeah. And Cyanide is putting balloons on me, or around me.
All right, should we move on to the end game tech?
Yeah, we've been teasing it all video, so let's take a look at it.
All right, I think it's time. So hidden behind this fission reactor, we've got this wild-looking multi-block here, and this is called the supercritical phase shifter, or just the SPS for short. And what this does is it lets you use a byproduct from fission reactions, which is called polonium, which you can create by just processing down nuclear waste, and also a lot of energy into antimatter. And this machine lets you do exactly that. So I'll actually let you flip on this lever over here.
You might be wondering why it's kind of dark right now. Well, like Aidan said, I'm going to flip this lever. Everything's set up with this multi-block, so let's give it a go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Minecraft, but it is quite a cool effect we have going on in there.
Hard to believe it is actually Minecraft.
Straight out of science fiction. Yeah. How did this come to be? Well, how did this evolve as a concept, having this kind of effect going on in game?
Well, I guess I'll let kind of Cyanide lead the way for this one, because this was kind of his brainchild of an effect.
Oh, I don't know if I'd call it that. I think this stemmed from Aidan doing some effect in a GUI, and it had a little electric arc, and then I said, hey, what if you make them inside this multi-block structure? What if you make them faster? What if you make them brighter? What if they touch the inside of the multi-block structure? Can you add an aura? Can you add particle? And then, 10 minutes later, he does it, because he's a madman like that. But everything I suggest, he somehow makes it come to life, and I think this structure is gorgeous. It's bravo. I don't know how you do it.
I find myself when I'm like kind of stressed out, just staring into the core of it for like 10 minutes, and it makes me feel a little bit better about the way things are going right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I leave one of them running in each of my worlds. It's like a lava lamp.
Honestly is. I mean, it's the Minecraft version of that. Is it random or is it on a sequence? How is this animating?
Totally random. Lots of crazy math going on. For example, like for little particles, each one of these, we use quaternion math to rotate them. We could just pick a random axis and a random starting location. You'll see also, if we change the amount of energy coming in here, say we use a basic energy cube, or let's use an elite.
Should I turn it off first?
Amount of the effect will change. Look, so now it's a bit more simple, less crazy looking.
This is the kind of thing that I feel like just puts a lot of other mods to shame, where like, you can do a lot of functionally really cool things with other mods, but you're not going to get these kinds of effects.
Yeah. Well, it definitely it was fun to have this come to life. It really is really cool to look at.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff I like showing people who have never played modded Minecraft, who might just be used to vanilla or maybe just barely know Minecraft at all. Things like this, and it's a fun way to blow their mind.
Yeah.
Really cool. Well, that is some exciting endgame stuff. This is by no means a comprehensive look at everything. I'm sure there'll be other spotlights and looks at that that are in the works. But these are just some of the highlights. And, I'm really glad that everything's safe. I was kind of worried about this fission reactor. What's going on?
Something is wrong. Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to do that.
I thought we were following all the protocols.
Hey, Cyanide, you made sure to keep those pumps going, didn't you? You didn't.
Guys, I touched something.
What did you touch, Cyanide?
A switch, and I broke a tank.
Should we be running?
I think it was cooling it.
So I just opened up the interface, and currently it looks like it's 545 kilodegrees Kelvin.
Is that bad?
I think that's not good.
Oh, it's rising.
Pretty sure that's bad.
Did I do that?
I've seen.
It looks like we have a bunch
I
of
know what's
alarms.
going to happen. I want to get out of here.
As the damage creeps up.
I'm here surveilling the remnants of the reactor. It was a pretty bad disaster. Thankfully, I'm protected here. As you can see, chunks of it are just literally missing. We've experienced a meltdown. This is a pretty dark day in Minecraft.
It's a very dark day. Think about how expensive the equipment was that went into this reactor. We just lost all of that.
Yeah, this beautiful, complex structure is just ruined. And this whole area is probably not safe to be in for, I don't know, millions of Minecraft days at least. So will radiation dissipate over time as if it's outside, or?
It does. Normally you can expect to have radiation gone in about 10 days if you have enough of it, but less significant leaks from a tube. If you have radiation, spilling out, that won't take as long to dissipate. But I mean, yeah, if this happens, you kind of can't play for 10 days.
As we look at the aftermath of this reactor, I'd just like to thank you, both of you, Aiden and Cyanide, for joining me and showing me a bit of Mekanism and 116 and some of the other mods we have in 116 that I'm not quite sure if we're supposed to have yet.
Of course, I'm glad you even enjoyed this. I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, so Mekanism v10, as of watching this video, you should be able to download the first few versions and play right on 116.
That's right.
All right, have a good day, everyone, and make sure you avoid a meltdown like this.